Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Brand Institute of Forensics and Security. And today we are focusing on topic 5, and we shall be looking at types of workplace investigations. Types of workplace investigations. Remember, this is a basic investigation module or course. Um, we shall be talking about workplace investigations, types of investigations that take place at the workplace. At the workplace, what might happen at the workplace that requires investigation. Okay, we are going to start by looking at an introduction, and we shall say when something happens at the workplace, it is a requirement that it be investigated conclusively and a report submitted to management for action to be taken. Each type of investigation has its own set of procedures and objectives. Investigations that are commonly carried out in the places of work take the following forms. First of all, before we talk about the types of investigations, let's talk about what is an internal investigation. An internal investigation is when a company formally investigates whether there was a policy or legal violation in the workplace. The investigation will involve speaking to witnesses, looking at relevant documentation, and anything else that will help the company understand what happened and what do they need to do about it. So it is an internal investigation. It involves mainly issues related to breach of policy or legal violations. Breach of policy or legal violations. Sometimes the investigation will be short and only involve a discreet inquiry. Other times, the investigation will be lengthy and involve investigating multiple issues. When an investigation is completed, it can also be high profile. When an investigation is complicated, it can also be high profile. In this instance, an outside law firm or outside agency will likely conduct an impartial investigation to protect the company and its employees and determine what disciplinary action needs to occur and what policy changes need to take place. In any investigation or in any investigative process, the company should review its internal personnel policies and what corrective actions should take place. Mostly, you'll find that companies have what we call employee handbooks. Employee handbooks govern or outline the limits of what you can do and what you can not do. It outlines what is a criminal, what is an offense and what is not an offense. And you'll find that in these employee handbooks, there are outlines of major offenses and minor offenses. Mostly major offenses, you'll find that they call for immediate dismissal from employment. And minor offenses, you'll find that they call for progressive disciplinary action. Major offenses will be like, for example, theft in a company. That is a major offense. If you are found guilty of theft, that is a major offense. Definitely, it will call for direct dismissal from employment. Other offenses like shouting at other employees or such kind of acts that are not major misconducts may call for progressive disciplinary action. That is beginning with first warning, second warning, third warning, AG as you go up. So beyond discipline and potential termination, the company should look at whether it needs to implement different policies or make operational changes, whether it should get law enforcement involved or if it should take legal action. For example, where rape is involved, then definitely you must get law enforcement involvement. Law enforcement is the police and the agencies that are authorized by the government to investigate these things. Like a serious assault with a bodily harm, then definitely you will need law enforcement. Even some cases involving theft, like fraudulent activities, definitely you'll need law enforcement and also legal action. So you as a security professional, you should understand that something has happened. Can it be managed internally alone, or do we need law enforcement, or do we need a legal action? You as a security professional should understand that very well. There are many different outcomes that could happen from an investigation, but the primary goal is to figure out what exactly happened. You see, the primary goal is to figure out what exactly happened. Types of investigations occur in the workplace include the following: theft, criminal acts such as theft of property, proliferation, murder, and arson, among so many. So many things happen at the workplace, and those are the things that we are going to be looking at. We are going to be looking at background investigations, pre-employment. This one you already know. Background investigation. It is done to find out your status, potential employee, before they finalize the signing of the contract. They have to check at your background and see where you are working currently, or where you are coming from, or where you are terminated from. What happened? Were you a criminal, or what kind of issues occurred? Background checks are usually done by the HR department. However, in some organizations, it is the responsibility of the security manager to conduct this background check. So it depends with organizations. And even some organizations will not will use consultancy hiring firms to conduct background checks on their behalf. So they will check your record, your previous place of work, and what type of a person you are generally. So number one is background checks. This investigation is conducted by companies, corporations, parastatals, and government departments. It covers the following key areas, which we put in terms of questions to be answered. Was the applicant employed by the company or the institution? Was the employment for the period of time stated? Does he or she possess skills or education stated? So you see, when you write your CV and you submit it for employment and you are called for an interview and you ask questions, if you don't say the truth, then they do background check, then they find that you are lying, then definitely you will not get the job. So it is very important for you to ensure that these things are in order, that the information you are putting in CVs is the correct information. So still talking about that, background investigation is carried out to follow up on your past in line of pre-employment. And those are some of the questions. Does the applicant have a good health? Is the applicant financially stable? Does the applicant have any criminal record? Take note, criminal record. Criminal record is very dangerous. Criminal record affects somebody his entire life. Criminal record is not good. You are arrested, you are found guilty of theft, you are found guilty of assault, you are found guilty of a serious issue. Criminal record is not good. Criminal record is not good. Stay away from criminal record, and even your family members, tell them never to get involved in issues that can paint their image, that can leave marks in terms of criminal record. Then, information on the above issues can be sourced by seeking a telephone conversation with a reasonable person at the applicant past employment organization, etc. This can be done by taking both human resource manager and the head of our security service. Helpful information can also be received from referees, among others. The depth of background check depends on the organization's needs, sensitivity of the position, and the resources available for the background investigations. Sexual harassment, a very serious issue. Sexual harassment can occur where a supervisor tries to pressure a low-key employee to exchange sex or sexual favors for promotions or keeping their jobs. This is a second issue that is usually investigated at the workplace. It is a very serious issue. Another kind of sexual harassment occurs when an employee repeatedly makes improper comments of a sexual nature and in such a way that it is severe and pervasive, which meets the legal standard for sexual harassment. So sexual harassment is something that you should be watchful for, and it is also one of the issues that is investigated in organizations at the workplace. Severe measures may need to be taken. Pervasive is when it happens over and over again. A sexual harassment investigation will interview the complainant, also known as the accuser, any witnesses, and the alleged harasser. Determine what occurred and if discipline or law enforcement involvement is necessary. So sexual harassment is situation number 2. And then another thing also to be investigated at the workplace, it is a workplace violence. Workplace violence, bullying and threats. Workplace violence, bullying and threats. People fighting at the workplace, people bullying each other, people threatening each other. Those are some of the issues that are investigated at the workplace. Workplace violence can involve an assault, which could also have criminal implications for the attacker, or it could involve threats, harassment, or stalking. Then also, another issue that is investigated at the workplace is also discrimination based on race, nature, origin, gender, age, disability, sexual orientation, etc. Discrimination is a serious issue also, especially in this age that we are living. Don't be the kind of person who discriminates people based on their national origin, based on race, based on gender, based on age, based on disability, also based on sexual orientation. So discrimination is number 4 issue that needs investigation at the workplace. And then also we say retaliation or whistleblower. A whistleblower is a person who reports a wrongdoing to third party, such as government or a watchdog agency. A whistleblower is a person who reports something that is going on to a government or other agencies. And in most cases, they receive retaliation from the organization. So this is also an issue where somebody reports something and then he discriminated against, or retaliation action is taken against that person, and then it becomes as a matter that requires investigation. And when we look at retaliation, is a very common allegation that employees make against companies and can be present along with a change of discrimination, harassment, or other wrongdoing. Whistleblower allegations are less common and tend to be more serious in nature. A whistleblower is typically reporting illegal behavior that can place the company in serious risk or have major implications for worker safety. So we talk about that whistleblowing, we talk about retaliation. These are some of the issues that are investigated at the workplace. We have spoken about workplace violence, we have spoken about bullying, we have spoken about threats, we have spoken about discrimination, we have spoken about sexual misconduct, and now we are talking about whistleblower. These are some of the issues that are investigated at the workplace, including background screening or background checks. These are some of the issues that you as a security professional, you really need to conduct investigations and submit reports. Also, I continue to remind you that it is important for you to know how to compile security reports, how to compile security investigation reports that will stand the test of time, and how to submit them to the management. Ensure that you are being truthful, you are not taking sides, you are not being biased, you are not discriminating against anybody, you are just reporting the matter in a factual, truthful manner. And then we see also government agencies in whistleblower matters may also conduct their own interviews, and so it can be wise to have a lawyer on the company side to best protect its interests during the course of the investigation. Always make sure that there is a lawyer. There is always a legal counsel for all organizations who handles legal matters. So where you see that you are likely to fall into trouble, then you must have a lawyer to be on standby. And then we say family and medical leave compliance. Different family and medical leave laws apply to workplaces. Paid leave annually for medical and family leave purposes. Job protection, meaning that when an employee takes leave, they have the right to return to their original or a substantially similar position. So these are also some of the issues that I investigated at work, because an employee takes leave and then the company decides to terminate his or her contract without following legal standards or legal procedures, and then it becomes an issue against the company. So issues related to leave, issues related to medical issues, these are also some of the issues that I investigated at the workplace. And then we say fraud. Obviously, you know fraud, fraudulent activities. Fraudulent activities. Owners, employees, or vendors who have access to sensitive financial information of the company can take wrongful actions that require the company to conduct an embezzlement investigation. In these instances, it's important for the company's lawyer to be particularly careful about conducting the investigation in such a way that it doesn't cause harm to the corporate dynamics or the image of the company. Fraud or embezzlement. This is some of also a very serious matter. And here, in most cases, you will find that the security managers refer this matter to fraud experts, to police officers who investigate fraud, because it is a very complex matter to investigate fraud. It needs deep knowledge. You must be very knowledgeable to be able to examine documents, to be able to clearly conclude that there is a case of fraud here. So usually many managers will refer this to law enforcement. They will refer them to the legal counsel of the company to conduct this kind of investigations. And then we also say frauds occurs in many ways: kickbacks, improper dealings, or using corporate resources for an employee's personal gain, financial wrongdoings such as accounting irregularities, financial statement fraud, and insider trading, among others. Because these actions can have major impacts on a company's bottom line and operations, experienced legal counsel is necessary to best protect the company from financial and reputational harm. You see, they say these matters usually refer them to the legal counsel of the company for this investigation. You can conduct just a primary investigation part of it, but when it comes to follow-up investigation, then always involve legal counsel for the company, because these issues can bring reputational damage to their organization. And then we have social media. In this age, defamation or harassment. Yeah, you know what happens in this age with social media. People post things, people engage in very, 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 very illegal activities that can cause reputational damage again to the organization or to people. So this is an area also where investigation is carried out. Investigation is carried out to investigate things like kickbacks, things like issues related to social media, what we post on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on other forums that can cause damage to the company. Social media wrongdoing can have a devastating impact on an organization, and it requires a fast-acting investigation to understand what occurred and what remedial measures need to take place. Then we say safety standards, safety, OSHA, Occupational Safety and Health Administration. One of the worst types of situations to unfold in the workplace is one where an employee, worker, or individual is seriously injured or even killed on the work site. An employee is seriously injured or even killed at the work site. These ones are defined under Occupational Health and Safety Act 2007. You can check this document online. You will find we have an occupational Safety Act for 2007, Kenya, that governs or discusses all these areas and what should be done. And then we see also wage and hour pay disparities. Also, this is one area where investigations are conducted. Companies that are not aware of overtime laws and how they apply to their businesses are at risk for major legal liabilities if they fail to pay overtime properly or misclassify a worker as an independent contractor when really they should be classified as an employee. So that is one area also that is of importance for you to understand, that sometimes you'll be called upon to investigate wage and pay disparity. Also, when a complaint is made by an employee about improper wage and hour practices, then the security department is involved, the security manager is informed, and then they conduct investigations to find out exactly if HR or the finance department is keeping in line with the policies and procedures. Sometimes a wage and hour complaint stems from gender-based pay disparities in the company. It's critical to review employees' compensation regularly to ensure legal compliance and keep your company out of court. And then there are also other general misconducts that are investigated at the workplace. And also this one usually ends up at the security manager's office. For example, many workplace investigations stem from allegations of general misconduct or bad behavior. Behaviors such as yelling, making threats, rudeness, absenteeism, tardiness, gossiping, or substance abuse can lead to a workplace investigation to determine what occurred and what disciplinary measure need to be taken. Generally, companies' code of conduct. You see, all companies have codes of conduct. Companies' code of conduct or employee handbook will have examples of general misconduct that can be investigated. Such kind of issues, generally a company's code of conduct or employee handbook will have examples of general misconduct that can lead to discipline or termination. And before taking these steps, sometimes it is necessary to conduct an investigation. When you conduct an investigation at a workplace, you must be guided by the code of conduct for the company or the employee handbook. Then we have other issues to talk about, just a little types of workplace complaints. There are two, an anonymous complaint or a formal complaint. An anonymous complaint or a formal complaint. These are some of the complaints that are reported at the workplace. How to manage an anonymous workplace complaint. You should be able to know how do I manage an anonymous workplace complaint. I used to work at Vela Private Island at the Republic of Maldives, and we used to deal with this one a lot because people used to sometimes write emails about managers, about directors, and then they send the email to the GM anonymously. And we used to find it very challenging to trace back to try to find out who wrote this anonymous email, because sometimes we need to investigate to see whether the matter is true or false. So this used to happen a lot when I was working at Vela Private Island at the Republic of Maldives as Director of Security. And then an anonymous complaint can occur through an outside human resource HR hotline. There is usually a hotline where staff are encouraged, if they want to report something anonymously, to use. Or sometimes a vendor or a member of the public can raise an anonymous complaint. An individual or worker can bring an anonymous complaint when they do not want to be involved in the company's investigation or are concerned about retaliation against them for making the complaint. So an anonymous complaint is something that is usually reported through hotline or in this age through anonymous mails. A formal complaint is when a person comes forward and complains officially that so and so has harassed me, or so and so has abused me, or so and so did this and this and this. A formal complaint occurs when a worker or individual raises a complaint directly to the company's attention and is willing to participate in the investigation. A company should have a formal complaint procedure outlined in its employee handbook so that employees know how and where to make complaints. Go back to your company and find out if these documents exist. If there is a formal complaint procedure outlined in the employee handbook where you work now, is there? How do you make a complaint if there is a situation? I hope you have come across this at your various workplaces. And then also I want to mention just a little bit about evidence, because also when you are investigating these issues, you must know what can be regarded as evidence and what is not evidence. Evidence for an employment complaint can take many forms. Written documents are evidences, such as emails with accompanying attachments. Text messages or screenshots of texts are evidences. Social media screenshots or social media messages are also evidence. So you must know which type of evidence am I dealing with, and is this evidence suitable to proceed with as it relates to this investigation, so that you are not conducting investigations without any form of evidence. And we say voicemails or voice recordings or witness testimony, human resource HR documentation such as a disciplinary warning, performance improvement plans, and other HR file documentation or metadata, IT data that can be retrieved from corporate devices. So those are other forms of evidences that you should be aware of. And then we say generally, when an investigation is taking place, the investigator speaks with relevant witnesses to obtain the facts of the matter to determine what occurred. During witness interviews, the investigator should ask what documents the interviewee reviewed to prepare for the interview. And if there are relevant documents or evidence, they can provide to the company to understand what happened. Usually, an employee will have emails, text messages, screenshots, and possibly recordings. So these are some of the evidences that are required when we are investigating these matters. And then the company's lawyer should conduct a search of the company's records to uncover what information the company already has at its disposal, such as emails, HR files, phone logs, timekeeping logs, or any other company records. A workplace investigation can be extremely simple and short, or it can be very complicated and sensitive. So remember, a workplace investigation, this is just a repeat of what we already talked, can be a very simple matter and you close the file, or can be a very complex matter. And always, what I want to tell you always also, always keep records of these investigation reports. Mainly in this age where we communicate through Outlook, through the systems, make sure after you have done the report, send to the GM, make a copy and put a hard copy in file, because these issues usually come back. Sometimes as a security manager, we conclude matter, we write a report, we send it. But then the employee goes to court and sues the company, and the company wants to see the investigation report. So if you don't have it on record, then it becomes a problem. And then also, other investigations that may also be conducted at the workplace include acts of sabotage, destruction of property to slow down the organization, fire and explosions, claims such as insurance claims, fraud complaints, etc. These are some of the issues also that may be investigated at the workplace. Property, destruction of property, which is sabotage, fire and explosions, claims such as insurance claims, fraud complaints, etc. And then we look at topic summary. In this topic, we have learned about the investigation conducted at the places of work, and these include investigations into acts that are criminal in nature, investigations into financial wrongdoings, investigations into employees' misconduct, background investigations or background screening, and investigations into acts of sabotage. Acts of sabotage. These are some of the areas of interest to you as a security professional. These are some of the areas of investigation you need to carry, and you need to be thorough with the investigation. I can tell you, this is one of the most sensitive work for the security manager in the corporate world, because these decisions that the management make touch on people's careers, touch on people's lives, touch on people's well-being. When you investigate matters, you must be able to provide the truth of the matter without taking sides, being biased, or engaging in its discrimination. People will be terminated. People will be dismissed from employment based on your reports. And if your reports are not truthful, then I can honestly tell you a time will come when you will be called forward, and it will be very difficult for you. So you must report these things accurately and exactly what happened. Where you don't have adequate evidence, it is even better to say to the management that based on the evidence that I was able to retrieve, I do not have adequate evidence to proceed with this matter. You better say that rather than take sides or engage in other ethical issues that lead to a person being terminated or dismissed from employment based on your report when that person is innocent, or a person going free based on your report and that person has committed the offense. So over the many years in my career, I have learned that investigation is one very sensitive part of the security manager or of the entire security department. Then we say, as a reminder, workplace investigations. This refers to various security investigations that may be conducted at the workplaces of work. They range from criminal acts, employee misconduct, to acts of sabotage, among others. Investigations into employee misconduct, e.g. Some security investigations target employees such as embezzlement, workplace incidences such as insults and violence, theft of intellectual property and trademarks, sexual harassment, commercial bribes and kickbacks, employee discrimination, among others. So you as a security manager or as a security professional, what I want to say is that you must be guided by the company's code of conduct or the employee handbook, which outlines that if somebody engages in this behavior, it is an offense. If somebody engages in this behavior, it is an offense. This is supposed to be investigated. This is not supposed to be investigated. You must be aware of these things. You must be aware of the issues that need investigations in the workplace. Thank you very much. We are going to meet again this coming weekend for another topic. I believe we are moving on progressively well. And you have to remember that the cut is coming very soon. So you have to prepare by reading the documents we sent to you, the manuals we have given you. Try to put everything in your mind, because we might decide to ask you to at least discuss 5 types of workplace investigations, or 5 types of issues that require investigation. The question may be framed in a different way, but we shall be asking you to discuss 5 of these things or 10 of these things. So you must be able to give us the information that we need so that we can conclude at our institutional level that you are progressing well and you are understanding and you are getting the message that we are trying to pass across. So thank you very much. I wish you everything good. I'll see you again next weekend.